Hello, my darklings. Thank you for joining me in the Shadow Hour. I am Madam Midnight, your host. Tonight we have a terrifying tale for you about the wayward star. Out on the open sea, time loses meaning. Days blurs into weeks. Weeks fade into months. For the fishermen aboard the wayward star, the ocean had become their entire world. Endless water, endless sky, and the quiet desperation of men who had not seen land in far too long. The sailors know something we don't. The sea is alive. It whispers in the wind. It sings through the waves. And sometimes it sings back. Tonight's story is called The Siren of Blackwater Deep, because some songs were never meant to be heard. The fishing vessel Wayward Star groaned as it cut through the dark Atlantic waters. Her crew of 6 men had been at sea for nearly 3 months. Salt had hardened their clothes, their beard had grown wild, their sleep was thin and restless. Captain Ellis Mercer stood at the helm, staring into the fog that clung to the sea like a living thing. "Storms a-comin'," murmured Thomas Reed, the oldest fisherman aboard. But there was no thunder, no lightning, only fog. And then they heard it, a voice, soft, beautiful, floating across the water like silk on the wind, a woman singing. The men froze. The melody was haunting, not loud, not clear, but impossibly beautiful. "Do you hear that?" Jacob whispered. "God help us," Thomas said under his breath. "Turn the ship!" But it was too late. The men were already leaning over the railing, searching the water. The singing grew louder, closer, then a splash. Something pale surfaced beside the boat. Golden hair drifted across the black water. A woman. Her skin shimmered faintly in the moonlight, and her eyes glowed a eerie blue. "Sweet mercy," one of the men whispered. "She's drowning." Without hesitation, Jacob threw down a pole and a rope and hauled her aboard. Her body was cold, fragile, beautiful. She coughed up seawater and looked at them with a wild and frightened eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice was the same as the voice they had heard in the fog. Captain Mercer wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. "Where do you come from?" But the woman only smiled faintly and began humming again. That night, strange things began to happen. The ship's compass spun wildly. The sea grew unnaturally calm. The fog thickened until the world beyond the deck vanished completely, and the singing never stopped. It drifted along the ship like a ghost. One by one, the fishermen began to disappear. First, it was Jacob, and by the time the others reached the deck, all they heard was a scream, and only his blood remained. Something massive moved beneath the water beside the ship. The shadow grew larger than the vessel itself. The rescued woman sat calmly on the crate, humming her melody. Captain Mercer grabbed her arm. "What are you?" She slowly lifted her head and smiled. Her teeth, they were wrong. They were too long, too sharp. Her legs twisted together, fusing into a powerful scaled tail that dragged across the deck with a wet scraping sound. Her beauty remained, but now she looked more like a monster. "Not a mermaid," Thomas whispered in horror. "A siren." The creature tilted her head cautiously. "You heard my song," she said softly. "That means you belong to the sea now." Suddenly the water erupted. Dozens of shapes rose from the depths, pale faces, glowing eyes, more sirens. Their voices joined together in a haunting chorus that shattered the silence of the ocean. The remaining fishermen clutched to their heads as the sound burrowed into their minds. One by one, they walked calmly to the edge of the ship and stepped into the waiting sea. Captain Mercer was the last. He gripped the wheel with white knuckles, fighting the pull of the music. The Siren had rescued. She had crawled across the deck. Her voice softened. "You saved me," she whispered. "And now," and her smile widened, "I will feed you to my sisters." The fog swallowed the wayward star, and the ocean grew silent once again. Days later, another fishing vessel passed through the same waters. They found the wayward star, drifting silently in the fog, empty, no crew, no sign of struggle. Only claw marks carved deep into the wooden deck, and strange, wet footprints leading back to the sea. But some sailors swear when the fog rolls in and the ocean grows quiet, you can still hear it, a beautiful voice, singing somewhere in the darkness, calling, waiting, hoping someone else will listen, because the sea has many secrets, and some of them are still hungry. So thank you for joining me for the Shadow Hour. I hope you enjoyed this song of the mermaids. So if you ever catch yourself out in the ocean and you hear the most beautiful singing you've ever heard, stay clear, don't answer that singing, and stay safe. Until next time.